Alright, welcome to the 4th episode of SmashCenter. I am your host, Suar, and it's been quite a while now that we've had a first major now happen for the PGRU season. That again is going to be the Panda Global Rankings for Smash Ultimate. Once more, I am Suar from PGstats, and if you're tuning in for the first time, this is SmashCenter, your source for all tournament recaps, controversy coverage, drama, and more. So, we're going to get right into it because we've had quite the week so far, as well as our first major, like I said. So let's just get right into it because we've had some hot action over the weekend. Of course, we have the PGR being announced, so that's PGRU for Ultimate. Coming from Smash 4, where we had the Smash 4 Panda Global Rankings, the PGR as it was referred to, we're now going head first into the season with the beginning of the Smash Ultimate PGR with Genesis 6. Now, this tournament over the weekend featured over 2,000 entrants with so much happening, so much everywhere. However, let's get something straight. When we're talking about everything that has to do with the PGR, there are certain things that we have to keep in mind. Now, last Thursday, the PGstats account announced that there was going to be changes to the tournament tier system that would be impacting how tournaments are rated. When we're looking at all of these changes now, we actually see that we have many of them stemming from entrant counts, because now we don't have PGR players coming from Smash 4, we have completely brand new players. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, here's the breakdown as it was made originally on Thursday before the tournament began. We see here that we have entrants divided into tiers, with 1,600 being the majority. Again, the highest, hotly, most contested events being S tier, followed by A tier events being 800 entrants, B tier events being 400 entrants, and lastly C tier events at 200 entrants. In the past, the PGR has functioned through the tournament tier system by rating tournaments based on the top player concentration, otherwise known as the PGR players, with top players 1 through 5 and 6 through 10 counting the most out of the top 50 ranking. Now we're moving away from that for our first season, since many players are experiencing not only character crisis, but also hidden bosses that we didn't know about before, which we'll talk about in a second for Genesis 6, are now appearing as very strong competitors. We do not want to prorate anything because again, the future is uncertain, but the hype is certain. These breakdowns right now represent a very even split for entrants, considering the season has now started with Genesis 6, and we're heading into a season with so much on the line, but also many eyes watching. However, looking at this for a moment, there was an announcement that we wanted to make today as PGstats with changes to the TTS already being in effect as of today, February 6th. We wanted to style this sort of as an update because this is something where we feel that many players can benefit both in the national continental US and abroad. After talking to many TOs at the event, myself, I was able to find out that many of them had concerns concerning the TTS when they were looking at events abroad. Events that for the most part have a tough time accumulating entrants aside from PGR players themselves, as we've seen in the past. These new changes, as you see now, show a split between domestic and international events, with international events getting a slight boost in their splits as we see here. We also lowered a little bit of what we saw before, considering the fact that the entrant counts for these tournaments were very high to begin with, and so we wanted to meet TOs where they were and offer a split that was both manageable and realistic. As you can see here, we have many things going on. The S tier is still the same. However, in terms of prestige, the G6, Genesis 6 first tournament, remains the highest, already outscoring everything so far in the season. Of course, it is the first tournament, but it is one of the hypest to date, so that'll be something to catch up to. But we see here, domestically, S, A, B, and C follow the 1200, 600, 400, and 200 splits. On the other hand, the international events now face 960, 480, 320, and 160 splits for S, A, B, and C tiers, respectively. The reason being, as we saw through the TO Summit at Genesis 6, many international competitors find it difficult not only to get into the US, so then when they defer to competing in their home countries, when it comes to US players traveling there with passport and visa issues being sometimes a problem, now they can rest easy knowing that they can achieve those benchmarks with their own home region. So we hope that that adds a little bit of relief to the international regions. This effect now is going live on February 6th. These splits will be made on the TTS spreadsheet, which will also be going live later today, where you can keep track of the latest events as well as upcoming events that are going on in the PGR season. However, now let's get to the main topic of tonight, which is Genesis 6, of course. This event sporting not only international talent, but talent nationally that we were really excited to see. This event featured so many things that happened, so let me just refresh your memory and go through the most important that we saw. Of course, MKLeo won the whole event over Void, Counterlogic Gaming's. He beat him out after resetting 3-1, and even though he was sent to losers by Samsora, MKLeo actually double eliminated the Buzz, who got 4th. Again, these are very incredible results for someone who, of course, won the last two Genesis. MKLeo won Genesis 5, he won Genesis 4, and he made the three-peat with Genesis 6. Then we saw a little bit of a shift in the meta with Pichu now outplacing Pikachu, showing an impressive amount of results with Void, who is now his premier character representative. And we saw many people now show interest, such as Zero himself, on Twitter in picking up the Pokemon monster. Then we had Zachary, the Japanese prodigy who really earned his seed of 4th for the tournament by beating the likes of so many, especially considering he did it with Wolf and his first showing in the US. He had an impressive run in his US debut, losing to only Void and Dabuz in Game 5 situations. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, these are players that are top 10 legacy PGR players, and our boy Zachary made them sweat, all in Game 5 situations. Unfortunately, he dropped to those players, ending at 5th. However, let's just make note that prior to top 8, he had only dropped a single game, not set, a single game on his way to top 8, which was to a Sonic player, and he 3-0'd players such as Light and K9 in situations that many thought would be at least a little bit more not one-sided. Zachary did it all. He ultimately tied with Light, so they played their qualifying match off stream for the Ultimate Summit hosted by Beyond the Summit, and Zachary beat Light, securing his spot in the Ultimate Summit. Then we saw Void 2nd place, Samsora 3rd, and Dabuz 4th. Zachary got that 5th, and all 4 of those players qualify for Smash Ultimate Summit. The campaign season for Summit has begun, and many players are trying to make it in by opting in by way of many campaigns that we've seen before in the Melee community. Some might eat onions, but many will probably opt to get the support of their local communities and regional communities nearby. Then we also had TSM Tweak, who was newly signed. He was projected to win the tournament at first seed, and after an insane hot streak of Let's Make Moves and Glitch 6, he actually fell to ESAM in losers and placed 9th he fell to ESAM in winners and then ended up placing 9th for the whole event. TSM Leffen proves that Melee players can hang and places 17th with his Pokemon trainer, beating the likes of Wadi, a previously top 20 PGR player, hailing from MDVA with his Mewtwo, now sporting a very impressive really impressive Rob, and he had big wins over Seagull Joe as well. He was eliminated by MKLeo and Yeti, players who got, again, 1st and 9th in the tournament. Yeti hailing from the Midwest with an impressive duality of Mega Man and Snake. Salem, 13th place, and Dark Wizzy, 17th place, actually secure the win for doubles, an event that again happened and ended before top 8 on Sunday, and they secured the title of Best Doubles Team in Ultimate as of today. They won over 392 teams, but again, in singles where much of the attention is focused, they did place right upside top 8. This pair also, again, won Smash Conference United a few weeks ago, so it's safe to say at this point that Salem and Dark Wizzy are the best doubles team in Ultimate, okay? So, enough about that. Genesis 6 was an event for the books, with so much happening both online and offline. I personally was there in the Paramount Theater, and I cannot stress enough how much events like that are necessary to go to. It was insanity, considering the fact that this was something that many people haven't seen before at this scale. Something to note is the fact that the Genesis 6 top 8 for Ultimate was after Melee. Historically, being the last event of the night, Smash Ultimate took it and actually started a couple hours later than usual, which is disappointing to some people on the East Coast as well as abroad in Europe and other time zones far east. But nevertheless, we had an impressive showing by everybody, both on the Melee side and the Smash Ultimate side. I do want to point out very quickly, however, that for many people, the Genesis top 8 for Ultimate, the in-person experience was phenomenal. And that's something that I'll get to in my section later for my suar says. If we look at the results here in a moment, we're going to see that we had such an impressive split by everybody, with so much of the tournament being dominated by our key players that we saw earlier in the PGR 100 reveal, as well as the PGR V5 and the historic giants that we've seen in the game. We will note, however, that Zachary was insane for what he did throughout the entire tournament. Of course, we had MKLeo in first, Void in second, Samsora in third, DeBuzz in fourth, Zachary and Light in fifth respectively, and Cosmos and Esam tied for seventh. These players had incredible showings for the first S-tier event of the PGRU season, and they will have an incredible start for the rest of the season, as this will affect seeding and perceptions of themselves as the season continues. However, let's get to the last and final topic, and that's going to be what my suar says is about, which is attending majors. I want to make it very clear here that none of these players that started as top 8 in the PGRU season began as incredible players. Of course, many of them had a natural knack for it, but I want to take a moment and actually really break it down for you, because many people saw players like Zachary, players like MKLeo, who again, very young, 16, 17-year-olds, breaking it into the big leagues in Smash Ultimate. Now, older players such as Esam and DeBuzz and Samsora, who just turned 21, so happy birthday, they all started somewhere. And where they started was their local communities, respectively Esam being from Florida, Samsora being from the southeast in Louisiana, DeBuzz being in Tri-State. Many of these players sought their local scenes out in earlier iterations of Smash, some as old as Melee, others as old as Brawl. They started locally, competing at their locals, getting top 8, top 4, eventually winning them, although they didn't start out by winning them. And eventually they started attending their regionals and their monthlies. And this part of suar says just really wants to underscore the following, which is don't be afraid to take that risk and attend a major. The major at Genesis 6 was incredible not only for competitors, but also for anybody who was trying to get to know people in their community, both in and out. Maybe you didn't know that person that you've lived with in New England at the regionals that you attended, you didn't get too much talk time, but once you go out of region to a major like Genesis, everybody starts to form that camaraderie and everybody starts to come together. And even if you're not competing, things like Artist Alley and all the booths that are available, as well as the exhibitions and the events that are available on the side, such as on-demand tournament brackets, which you can create by gathering with 8, 16 people, it's fun for everybody, and it's also something that many people might find intimidating, given potentially the cost of travel and boarding. All that set aside, I cannot stress enough how important it is to visit these majors. The next one we have coming up is in about 2 weeks now. We're looking at February 22nd through the 24th, Frostbite in Detroit. Frostbite 2019, now the third iteration of the Frostbite series, is going to be intense, and I cannot stress how important it is to visit these majors, gain that experience, gain that wherewithal, and most importantly, get rid of those jitters. Because I'll tell you one thing, sitting at a top 8 at a local in a game store going against someone you've gone over and over again in sets is quite different from being on the main stage in front of sometimes thousands of people, which Genesis 6 showed us. So, that'll be the end of the recap series, PGstats' own SmashCenter. My name has been suar. It's been a pleasure to take you through this quick recap of Genesis 6 and the few updates we've had now to the PGR. You can catch everything on Twitter at the PGstats. Again, if you're catching this on YouTube, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. We'll have more coming to you every week. And I want to say sorry that we didn't have our special guest today. Things didn't quite work out with the travel from Genesis. I will give the hint that they were at Genesis themselves. Our special guest is going to be on next Monday, potentially as a permanent co-host. More news on that will come soon enough. But again, this has been Suar from PGstats. This has been SmashCenter episode 4, and we hope you have a good night and you stay tuned to the rest of the PGR season as it unfolds right before us. Have a good night.